before this video gets started, I want to go through a couple of scriptures because I believe these scriptures are paramount to what I'm about to talk about in this video. Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but just weight is his delight. That's what the Lord delights in. Just scales, just weights, especially when it comes to arguments and critiques, and even when it comes to selling food in the market. Let's get started. Hi, Reeg. So I got word that you wanted to join the church, which is interesting because your people usually don't come to this type of church. Yes, when I say your people, I'm not being racist, okay? I'm just saying your people usually don't show up to the doorsteps of this church. However, if you want to join Tyreek, I have to say this, and you might not be included because you seem like one of the good ones, Tyreek, or should I call you Ty? Let me say Ty. Ty, you seem like one of the good ones. But when it comes to your people and your culture, when I say your people, look at that. I'm not including you because I think you're one of the good ones. You guys are evil, boisterous, prideful, slanderous, murderous. And you love to indulge in all things sinful and you glorify it. And it's a part of your culture. So Ty, might I add, if you really want to join this church, you have to denounce Black culture, and you cannot participate in anything that's associated with Black culture because Black culture equals demonic, evil. And we don't want that in our church, right? We don't want that. Tyreek, you don't want that either. Do you, Tyreek? Do you? To be honest, guys, I don't think I'm that far off. If you go to some of these churches, they truly believe that Black people love all the evil parts of Black culture and that they indulge in it. They dwell in it. This is fun to them. This is enjoyable to them. So if you go to one of these churches, they might think your name is Tyreek. They might think like, hey, this dude might have a criminal background. We need to hide the kids. We need to hide our wives. We need to check this guy out first because he could be a threat just based off his skin color. Yes, people still think this in 2025. They're not as blunt as they once were in the 40s and the 30s and the 20s, in the 1900s, early like 1910s, in the late 1800s, 1700s, whatever. They're not as blunt. They hide behind verbiage. And one of those words is culture. They love to say Black culture this, Black culture that, but they really mean Black people. That's absolutely what they mean, is Black people love this type of evil environment, and they're like a demonic people. They act like beasts. That's what you hear from pastors, so-called pastors who are called to shepherd the flock of Christ, who are called to go out there and preach the gospel to every single tongue, tribe, and creed, every single person. All believers are called to do that, by the way, but more so a pastor. But yet you think someone who bears the image of Christ is so sinful, so evil, just based on their skin color. So we're going to take a look at this guy, so-called pastor, and let's see what he thinks about Black culture, right? Culture, not people, culture. Okay, let's take a look at it. Fool.
Say that somebody was coming into our church and they're Black, and would they be?
Let's say someone was coming into our church and they're Black. What? What type of qualifier is that? It should be, let's say someone is coming into our church and they don't know Christ. They don't know Christ. But he's saying, no, hold on. Let's say they're Black, because when Black people come into my church, it's totally different if someone that looks like me comes into my church. Totally different. Now you have to deal with a different kind of people. Now this person you got to deal with that's Black. Oh my goodness, it's going to take more work. The Holy Spirit going to have to do more running, more effort to, change this person's outlook on life, right? It's weird to say if a Black person, or why couldn't you just say if a non-believer was coming into my church? That would have been fine. But you always have to make it about race every single time.
Eligible for membership in our church? Yes, they of course they would. They'd be eligible for membership in our church. But would they be permitted to participate in, embody, and practice what I would call black culture generally in our church.
What you would call black culture. Who makes you the arbiter of truth when it comes to what black culture is? Just because you are a pastor, you get to say black culture is this, and you get to mark it. Well, I can do the same thing. White culture is X, Y, and Z. White culture is going to a school and letting off rounds. If I say that, I will be wrong. I don't really consider that to be white culture. But for some reason, this guy right here considers anything that's probably evil black culture. I'm pretty sure that's what he considers black culture. So he gets to define and make the parameters around what is black culture and what isn't black culture, even though he doesn't live in a black community. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. I'm pretty sure all of his interactions with black people, I'm pretty sure it might be on X or Twitter, Twitch, whatever, Instagram, on the interwebs. He doesn't live in a black community. He didn't grow up in a black community probably, and he's not around black people. Or I'm pretty sure he didn't go to a black university either. So to say and conclude black culture is what I say it is, who gives you that authority to do so? Like who gave this guy the authority to say that?
The answer is absolutely not. Why? Because the characteristics that mark black culture as a generalization in the same way.
The things that you mark as black culture. Make sure you should have said that. The things that I mark as black culture, you. Okay, because I think the way you're defining black culture is absolutely wrong.
Paul's talking about Cretans on Crete. They are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. The
same way Paul is talking about Cretans on Crete. When Paul quotes another philosopher and the philosopher critiques the people on the island of Crete, that is not a racial critique because the people who are located on the island of Crete are Greek. Cretan is not a racial category at all, but he makes it a racial category for his own racism. It's crazy because Paul is talking about a people on an island who by race, by their heritage, they're Greek. Cretan or Crete is an island. So Cretan is the people who stay on the island of Crete. Similar to today, you live in America. American or America is not a race. It's not a race of people. America is a geographical location. So if I say New Yorkers are loud, I say Californians don't wear clothes because it's always hot. If I say Mississippians have hospitality, I am critiquing the cultural ideas, functions, and geographical location. It's not about race, but you make it about race for your own racism. That's crazy to me. Paul is not talking about a race of people at all, not even close. Paul, as I said, I will say it again, is talking about a geographical and cultural critique. But you don't want to make a geographical or cultural critique. You want to make a racial critique for your racism. So Paul was not critiquing a race. He was critiquing a localized culture and false teachers within that culture. But people love to tie to race because today we live in a race-conscious society. And we often project our ideas, anachronism, onto the ideas of the past, the ideas of ancient texts. We put our own ideas into those ancient texts. And that's exactly what this guy is doing. He spoke fast right there, but if you just look Cretans, Crete, no, Paul is not making this about race, but you love to make it about
on
race.
Crete. They are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. They steal, they kill, they destroy. They are sinful to the core.
Oh my goodness, evil, violent, murderous people. when at one point that was just humans in general, but now it's relegated to blacks. Blacks are the only people on the face of the earth that are evil, murderous, and they commit crime at such a high rate. They're just evil people. He said they're sinful to the core. He didn't say humans are sinful to the core. He said blacks are sinful to the core. So he's saying, like, oh my goodness, this guy is saying that whites, we are not sinful to the core. Yes, we have sins, but we can let go of these sins easily. That's really not our nature. Our nature is good. Our nature is to help humanity. Our nature is to do things that are right and righteous. But blacks, at their core, at the foundation of a black human, he is sinful. But at the foundation of other humans like myself, no, we don't fall into that category. Boy, this is damnable heresy right here. It truly is. It's truly a damnable heresy.
Or they have besetting sins.
Besetting sins, so sins that are hard to let go of, sins that just easily entangle the blacks, or murder and violence and all of this other stuff, but not other cultures, not my culture, not white culture, because we don't have any evil going on. But if I pull up the stats, it won't look like that. I guarantee you it won't look like that.
Sexual immorality, they molest children at a high rate.
That don't happen in the white community?
At a high rate.
M-word and children at a high... Do we really want to go to the stats about that? Like, come on. Do we really want to go to the stats about that? And if we go to the stats about that, blacks, we don't make a sweeping generalization and say all whites are like this. But when you look at, let's say for the murder rate, you say all blacks are murderers. But when we look at the rates of whites committing evil and violent crimes such as the M-word of children, we don't come to the conclusion and say, yeah, all white people are like this. Even Tim Tebow called this out.
And I want to say this, and I think it's important. The number one offender type is biological fathers, but by far it is being done by middle-aged Caucasian men. Many, over half of them, college graduates. Many of them are educated, good jobs. This isn't just who we're thinking about. Like they're technical savvy, and I think that it is time that we call them out. Like that, we can't stand by and stand back. Like we have to stand up and say, not only are we not doing our job as men, it's actually the opposite. Instead of being defenders and protectors of our families, we're hurting and abusing. We were
all of any criminal statistic that you could look at, almost pretty much without exception, they excel at them.
Black people excel at sin. White people don't excel at sin because we are good to the core, but blacks are evil to the core. You see the undertone of his message. He's not blunt with it, but if you just put 2 and 2 together, you'll get 4.
Black culture.
And it's even interesting. I mentioned it before, but like the black guy on TikTok, he was saying, he's like, y'all crazy. Like you're talking about this person like it's mental health. He said, that ain't no mental health. That's a demon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people are seeing that. Like this behavior is demonic. To walk up to a white girl,
but yeah,
and to cut her throat
because she's white,
and be like, yeah, we got that white girl.
We got that white girl. And when you think about it, you look at that culture and you say, what are the besetting sins and characteristics of it? And then you say, could somebody come in a lawful?
They're talking about what happened in Charlotte, the young man who stabbed this young woman on the bus. That was evil. That is demonic. And a lot of black people consider that, majority of black people consider that evil and demonic. But the thing about a pastor like this, would he consider what the guy did to Charlie Kirk demonic? Or would he just say mental health? Would he consider the guy who just literally ran his car into an LDS church and then shot people in the church and set the church on fire? Dude, that is some GTA stuff. That happened here in America. Or Dylan Roof, who went into a house of worshipers and killed 8 to 9 people. Or what about what just happened in late August, early September? Another mass shooting at a Catholic church. was done by a white person. So are we going to sit here and say white culture is mass shootings? White culture is running into churches and bombing them. We even see that in the 60s. So many black churches, 50s, 40s, black churches were bombed. Are you going to say the KKK or white people as a whole during the time of Jim Crow, when they lynched black people in churches and had signs that said Jesus saves? Would you consider that demonic? And this is coming from a people who are claiming to be followers of Christ. Are you going to call that demonic? Because I'm pretty sure black culture considers what that guy did on that bus was evil and demonic, and we call it out. But are you going to call out the demonic things that happens in your culture? Are you? Or is that not white culture? That's just a small subset of white people. Similar to blacks, that's a small group of blacks committing these crimes, a small group of blacks that indulge in all the evil practices that you said, which, quote unquote, I think your culture indulges in too, if I'm using your standards, right? So you just try to hide racism in the word culture, and you paint a broad brush and have all blacks to be a part of this evil, demonic culture, and all blacks are evil. So you continue to perpetuate this boogeyman of the black man or the black woman or black culture as being the most evil thing in America, which is so funny and laughable to me.
Church membership embodying that culture. No, they have to self-consciously repudiate that culture.
No Christian can join a church if they act in any of those ways. Christian, period. No, it doesn't matter if you're a part of black culture, white culture, Asian culture, Chinese culture. If you love those practices, you cannot be a Christian. It has nothing to do with black culture, because these things are not acceptable in the black culture. Just the truth. Now, I need you guys to make the decision. Are we going to call out true racism? I'm not saying everything is racism, but when we see clips like this is hatred, this is racism, hiding behind the word culture. So are we going to call it out or just let it bypass us? We have to make that decision. As the scripture says, have just balances, just scales. Even when we are critiquing an entire people group, we have to be just. We cannot call out a speck in somebody's eye when we have an entire log in our own eye. Let's be fair. Let's be righteous. Let's be godly. Let's be just. Until next time, guys. Peace.